Hello everyone, it's Lennon and welcome back to one of the last Art and Archetypes episodes. This month's archetype is the Magician. I know a couple of lovely commenters have said that they can't wait for this one. It was either this one or the Sage that we did last month, but either way, this month's archetype is the Magician, and I have a couple of ideas about how I kind of want to map this particular pair of pages out in this art journal. Usually I start with the title, but I don't think I'm going to do that this time. I've got a couple of glittery pages. I may do something with all of this. I don't know, but for some reason when I think of a wizard or a magician, I don't know, I think of robes and I think of wands and I think of wizard's fire and lightning and glittery, sparkly fairy dust that gets thrown around because the wizard knows what they're doing in terms of magic. However, and so that's kind of why the glitter paper. But to be quite honest, I don't necessarily believe that the magician archetype is about magic. I think that it's about more than that. So I think what I'm going to do is just like try to, with all these scraps of purple that I have, try to draw some kind of robe, because I want to have an embodiment of a wizard or whatever you want to call it. I guess maybe like a Gandalfian figure to represent the wizard on the page, like I've had in several other pages before. So I'm going to try to do this, I guess. I kind of want it to look, the wizard is standing here. Maybe? All right, that could be like this half and then this half. It doesn't matter if these flaps don't overlap perfectly because I can glue them together. Let's see, where's that purple? I don't really know why I'm using purple. It may just be because purple, I don't know, purple and blue and browns, they make me think of like wizards' robes colors, because the robes themselves would not be particularly shiny. They would kind of be like everyday wear for, what do you call it, back in the day? Like back when, when wizards were a thing. These witches and wizards, they would have worn these really like linen-y robes. I guess we could go around this just to kind of make it show up a little bit better. Now, one thing that the wizard has that we can use another one of these for is a hat. Some weird shapes here, there, and everywhere. With a couple of rectangles and some triangles and an oval, you can make a wizard. It's like kindergarten all over again. Let's see, we'll go around this. Now, because I've made this sleeve come out, it's kind of like I want this magician to cast some magic down through here. I guess to where I'll put the shadow. I've been doing that a lot in a couple of the other episodes. I'm going to use this black. And I'm kind of going to mark it out where I want it to go. I don't want it to cover a large part of this, but it's going to be kind of like smoke. And then mark it like this on the bottom of it. And we'll try to cut it out and see how that goes. One thing I've learned about these double pages, these pairs of pages and stuff, is that they won't fold properly. So you kind of have to, I might have to slit this so that it'll fit properly. Cut this out. To be honest, I may glue this and then slice it. That way I know I'm getting it in the right spot. We shall see. Now, maybe with an orange, I'm sorry, I'm gonna wipe the glue off my finger first. Maybe with some orange, I'll draw like a little wand. There. Take this, slice that. Just enough to where when I open and close it, it's not gonna rip that page. Okay, and this will be the shadow. We can even write that. Right there. That way we'll know, because this is an informational, I guess what you would call an informational journal. Let me outline this wand. It's getting on my nerves that you can barely see it. Okay. I can't decide if I want to use this or the silvery glitter as the title page, or like where the title goes, like says Magician. I think I'll use this. So cool, right? Actually, maybe I'll use this for the quote that goes over here. Okay. Use a small sketchbook here, kind of a thing. I can't write on the glitter, so. Because I hate things that go off the end in a manner that does not look good. There. Okay, now that we've gotten kind of like the preliminaries out of the way. Title, this is where the shadow is going to go. I don't know really right now how I'm going to write on this, but I think I'm going to use this paper as like the bubbles, right? I don't know, bubble speech bubbles, but make it look like they're floating, like actual bubbles. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. The quote's going to go up here. As always, I like to put like the goal, the motto, maybe some fears surrounding the magician. I kind of learned a lot because when you hear about the magician, you think about, of course, like in all the other archetypes, you think about branding, how someone may use this as a brand. And that can kind of help you learn about this archetype. But usually I like to think about literature, and I like to think about cinema, films. And this whole kind of concept of the magician makes me think of Gandalf. Duh, right? Or Dumbledore. And It's like if I took all the wizards or magicians, there's another TV show, a small TV show based off of a book series that I used to like called Legend of the Seeker. That's the name of the TV show, but the book series is a huge book series about the Seeker, and the very first book is called Wizard's First Rule, and the whole premise is about this Seeker who has this big destiny, and he has this confessor friend that gives basically her life over to protect him and to go forth on this mission, along with the wizard Zedicus Zul Zorander, which is a bomb-ass, fantastic name. But his job as wizard, there's a certain level of job that Zedicus has, and when you throw them all into like a pile together, all these wizards, all these magicians, they all kind of come forth with different qualities, like things that over the spectrum, they all do. And that's kind of, that essence is kind of what I'm talking about with this magician. Now, it does make me think of those famous wizards that we love to read and watch. But what do they all have in common? That's what this magician archetype was going to teach me, is what all of those had in common. What was the common denominator there? And it did teach me a lot. I think that I learned a lot. I think the most interesting thing about the magician that I found out was laid in the shadow. So we'll get there eventually. Now up here I have some more of this glitter paper in various colors. I think I'm going to use something besides this green because I've used this in a couple of others. I like this peachy color. I think that goes well with the purple, but I also like this white. I don't know. I don't know. It just seems to look, I bought all these. They came in a huge pack and it was like on clearance. And I was like, oh my gosh, I can make so many like paper crowns. I've been obsessed with making those my whole life. But anyway, we could, I don't know, make some little wispies. To hang around. I kind of like how that looks. Let's do this one. I like this one. I like how it can tuck under the shadow here. We'll use some white paper to write certain things on top of the glitter paper. I just think that the glitter paper adds something, some je ne sais quoi to the magician's paper, magician's area in the book. Okay, what color should we use for the motto? Let's use this blue. I guess I'm gonna try to make this as colorful as possible. Usually I have some kind of color scheme, but I'm just kind of going with it. The motto of the magician is, I make things happen. You know, sounds kind of narcissistic to me, but that's just my opinion. I think that is definitely something common on all levels when you think of the magician and the wizards and stuff that we know of. They have so much, I want to say confidence, but I don't think it's that. I think it's more like they have so much pride. They have so much ego surrounding what they do. They think that they're the only ones that can do it. And if someone else is doing it, then it's got to be in an evil way, you know, like come on. Actually, I think I'm going to make a couple of these stepping stones. Oops, I got dog hair everywhere. Not that I let my big dog up on the table, but For all the dog mommies out there, you know that hair tends to get everywhere. Usually I write on these beforehand, but I need to map them out first. So we'll see how that goes. Hopefully this will be enough. Let's do pink this time. Now this is the goal. We should write this somewhere in here. There. That way we know that to make dreams come true is the goal of the magician. Now with all this, you think, I make things happen. I'm going to make your dreams come true. It does sound kind of narcissistic to me. It sounds kind of coming from an ego place. Now, as an archetype, I do believe that this is an ego archetype. That I know so much. I have so much information to give you if you would just listen. You know, if you have it in you to decipher the riddles that I am saying. Again, I'm thinking about Gandalf, you know. Aragorn is like, you still speak in riddles, like, just say what you're going to say. But that's not the wizard's way. The wizard's way is warped in a way that their pride doesn't allow them to just give you the answers. Plus, I think that they don't want to. They don't want to give you the answers. But then they kind of want the hero to prevail on their own, to learn on their own, to learn the truth by themselves. And yes, the wizard is there to kind of help and to guide. It's very much like almost a guide, but shrouded in mystery, I'll say. So yeah, you have to do a lot of the work when it comes to being the hero to this magician's archetype. But to make things happen and to allow the wizard to make things happen, or to make your dreams come true, the magician kind of steps in to, I guess, protect you from yourself and protect you from mindsets that may not be benefiting you in the moment. But again, there's riddles to be deciphered here. This is like the ultimate Sphinx, in my opinion. Now, in times past, this archetype could have been what we now call a shaman or a healer of some kind. Someone that is there for the community in a way that, like, they're kind of outcast. They live alone. They may have been shunned by the community or their society, you know, that culture or society. But not in a way that prevents them from, like, living a life. It just is that maybe they terrify the people of the community. Maybe that they know, okay, look, you benefit our community in a way, but we're still terrified of what you can do, of your abilities. So you have to sit over here by yourself. But that doesn't stop people from coming and seeking advice and seeking guidance from this archetype. So I think that is also a big thing that happens with the magician, is that it's kind of a lonely thing. You could put the fear there. Now the fear with the magician, okay, so say this prideful, egotistical type of an archetype that is alone most of their life. What would they be fearful of? If they seem to have all this power, okay, what the heck would they fear above all else? Now, they're not so ego-driven that they care what people think, or they care that they do ultimately care about the hero of the story, but, you know, whoever they're guiding and protecting. But I think also, to an extent, they wouldn't care so much about people not listening to them or taking their advice. It wouldn't be like that. It would be more so that they would be afraid of their own abilities when it comes to solving a problem. And what would that mean? They would be afraid of negative consequences. So say they formulate a plan, they go forth with said plan, all for it to accumulate in a bad way. So their ultimate fear, I'm gonna see if I can write on this. Fear, there. I mean, it's probably gonna be able to wipe off since of all the glitter, but we'll go with it. I don't plan on like doing much after this, except for writing in the backs of this, you know, to kind of for further study. So we'll see. Negative consequences. That's what they fear. They fear that their plan, or what the hero deems a plan, the magician's helping to do something and there's a plan involved, that it's like unforeseeable. Whatever may come about that's unforeseeable to even the magician, that's their ultimate fear. Which to me isn't a huge thing. I mean, change is an inevitability, but I don't think that the magician as an archetype is up for that. I think that they would like things to be mapped out in their grimoire, in a dusty library somewhere, and it's just a set of rules that they can follow, that they can't break, and everything's just, all the T's are dotted, all the I's, all the T's are dotted, all the I's are dotted, and the T's are crossed, and that's the way the magician would want things to happen and to unfold in a way that is mappable. But if something comes about that's not mappable, that would just throw the magician's plan to hell. So, you know, we see, I think I see that severity in this archetype. But they are a catalyst for change. It's just change that needs to come about in their way. I don't want to say it like that. It's hard to explain. Like, they're a catalyst for change in tandem with eradicating the evil, eradicating whatever it is that they and the hero are battling against. I think what the wizard ultimately, or the wizard, I keep calling it the wizard, what the magician ultimately wants is to enact change, but they have to be the ones that affect that change. They have to be a one that's brung that change about. If it's something that they have unforeseen that's bringing the change about, I think that that's where the fear comes from. They are the catalyst of change, but they operate in a space where they can enact that change, affect what comes next themselves. And I think that throws a wrench in a lot of the magician that we know in cinema and literature. I think that they seek a deep connection with that which could produce change, like cosmos, divinity, things like that. I think that they want to learn. I think that they're a seeker at heart. They want to learn all they can about this unknowable, this divinity, cosmos, the universe, whatever. And they thrive for that deep connection so that they will, as much as they know and as much as they learn and gain in a knowledgeable way, and even a magical way, it's that will allow them to make the plan that will enact the change. So I hope that all makes sense. Now, I think he has similar archetypes that we kind of bounce off of, because I saw a lot of similarities between the magician in the research with the creator, right? They want to enact change through their work, through their art, through what they make. And then the sage, right? They are knowledge driven. So if they're knowledge driven and the magician is that I want to know all I can about the unknowables, there's some similarities there. But I think that the magician has some differences that we can seek out. I think that the ultimate difference between the magician and those other archetypes is their supernatural abilities. These abilities that seem to come from these otherworldly things. That's where it is. Like the sage and the creator and any other archetype that we know of, none of those have supernatural abilities. None of those have magic powers. And those powers that have come down from wherever, the cosmos, coming from this deep connection that they have with this unknowable side of the universe, that's where the hero and we relate. We want to relate to the magician because of their abilities, because we don't understand those abilities. The ultimate thing that I liked finding out about this was that they are able to map out the future. Okay, duh. But I think they do it in a large part for self-preservation, to protect themselves, to protect their magic. And I think that they are able to, one, have a connection with this supernatural cosmos divinity, this otherworldly thing, the unknowable aspect of the universe, is because they're big picture people. They are big picture thinkers. They don't think. They're able to kind of map out the future, map out a plan, because they can see the moment. They can be in the moment. They can use their abilities in the moment. But then they can also see way many steps into the future. And they can look at multiple outcomes. And I think that that's where the fear also comes about, is that when they say you're playing chess, okay, and you've done a couple of moves and you already kind of had a strategy. You're like, okay, I want to go this way with it. This is my number one strategy. But in chess, it doesn't work like that, because you don't know what your opponent's strategy is. And they could figure out that you are doing strategy one, and they can counteract that. And so you have to have multiple strategies in place that you're willing to work through. With that being said, you have 5 strategies to map out the game of chess. What if, here's the fear, what if they have a strategy that you haven't thought of? Then none of your strategies are going to work. It ends up being that you've mapped out what you think one of these will work, and then they don't. I wanted to write that down somewhere. Now, I have to kind of map this out. To accommodate my speech bubble that I like to put, because as you guys know, I like to put a quote down. Maybe it comes from the magician, maybe it comes from somewhere else. Either way, I like to have a quote somewhere. And I like to keep scraps, so we'll keep that over here. Let's see. How did this end up being way bigger than I needed it to be? I may do the quote last, like I always do, but I wanted to go ahead and put this down. And then I think maybe we'll do the shadows. Let's see what the shadows of the magician teach us. We'll come back to you. Quote. I think these look cute. Okay. Let's use green. I hope this yeah. Hope it still works. Always have to test them out. Now, I've already said one. They're egocentric. They let their pride hinder them, I guess you could say. They could. And that's what's the beauty of the shadow. We may not see, you know, the shadow come out in some of the wizards that we know of, or the magicians, but sometimes we do. Sometimes we see them thinking that they know everything, and then, you know, nothing good happens to them, or something bad happens to them because of their pride. We don't know. I think another thing is that they are controlling. I think that they have that shadowy ability to manipulate others. Not so much to do their bidding per se, but it's just because they think they know the best outcomes. And they think that because they've mapped this out and mapped that out, that they can kind of control the situation. But they can't do that without controlling the people involved. And I think sometimes that can get out of hand. Now, with any magician, we have to think of the supernatural here too. In some of the instances that we have of wizards and magicians and witches, whatever, in this archetypal form, is that they may succumb so much to their shadow that they turn to dark magic. And by dark magic, I mean malevolent magic, baneful magic, magic that hurts other people. So I think that with the magician archetype, the magic of the magician lies in their ability to have a balanced ego. Now, how must we relate this to, I don't know, how must we relate this to, how could we relate this to our lives? And how I'm going to do that is with the quote. I always pick out a quote from somebody famous, because I think that quotes help me. It's almost like a post-it note, and it helps me to kind of figure out like the message of these archetypes, because once I find a quote that works really well, it almost unlocks so much. It's like annotations. It unlocks so much for me to be able to process this archetype through someone else's words, almost, if that makes sense. I probably say that intro into the quote every damn time. And before I say the quote, I want to give an example that I guess I was thinking about when I was doing this research. Of course, I thought about Merlin, right? Most people know of Merlin and his like role in the Arthurian legends. And when I thought of Merlin, I thought, okay, well, what was his role in regards to the legend, in regards to the ruler of King Arthur? You reawaken the good in him, right? This spans out back to what I was saying in the beginning. I'm kind of going full circle here. What is the common denominator? Reawaken the good in the ruler, whoever that is in that myth or whatever. Keep the ruler's ego in check while also keeping their own ego in check, their own pride in check. Discern the wolf in sheep's clothing. Those are 3 common denominators that the magician archetype has with the hero or the ruler. We've covered the hero. I think that was one of the first archetypes, but the ruler is actually the last archetype. So that's going to be number 12, the last one we'll have this year. And it's been so cool to learn about the archetypes in this kind of a way, in this playful kind of a way. But I think that those are so powerful. These roles, these objectives that the magician has with whoever that they're with. So I just wanted to share that. Those who do not believe in magic will never find it. Roald Dahl. Isn't that such a good quote? This particular quote I love. It does something to my soul to hear it, because I firmly believe this, that how can you find the magic if you won't believe in it, if you don't believe in it? There's just no way that those two can exist in the same world, in your own world. So, and even though it may not seem like it plays out with this particular archetype, I think it does. I think that the contradiction in wanting to find magic but then not believing in it is the same, almost the same thing to me as trying to balance your brain all the time, adjusting it to fit. So anyway, that's all I have for this archetype. I hope that it was informative and fun. Come back for the last archetype of this year. I'm so happy that art and archetypes what has almost come to fruition. So stay tuned. Come back on the next new moon for the ruler archetype. Much love, everyone.